Here we explore the human experience through the mind, the body, and the soul. Mind Lounge is not about answers. It's about insight. Settle in. Open your mind. Let the conversation begin.
Okay, so I want to start today with a little thought experiment. A visualization.
Okay, I'm ready.
I want you to picture the last time you were at a social event. You know, one that was supposed to be good.
Right, the kind you look forward to.
Exactly. Maybe it was a wedding, maybe a family get-together, or just, drinks with friends that you genuinely like.
The scene is set.
Yeah, and the lighting is perfect, the music is playing, people are laughing all around you. On paper, this is it. This is the moment. This is what you worked all week for.
The Instagram moment, basically.
Right.
The highlight reel.
The highlight reel, perfect. But now I want you to zoom in on how you actually felt in that moment.
Uh-oh.
Because if we're being totally honest, for a lot of us, there's this friction, this disconnect. You're holding your drink, you're smiling, you're nodding along with the story someone's telling. But behind your eyes, it's just static.
Yeah, that feeling of being a million miles away.
A profound sense of distance. And then, almost like you're not even controlling your own body, your hand goes into your pocket.
The pacifier.
Right, the digital pacifier. You pull out your phone, you're not even looking for anything specific.
No, it's not about an important email.
Not at all. You need to scroll. You need an escape hatch. You need to leave the room without actually leaving the room.
It's such a visceral, familiar scene. And what's interesting is how we immediately judge that moment, right? If I see you doing that, my first thought is, wow, he's rude, or he must be bored, or even he's addicted to his phone.
Forget you judging me. I judge myself. I'm sitting there thinking, what is wrong with me? These are my friends. Why can't I just enjoy this? Why do I feel so flat?
Exactly. We internalize it. We see it as a personal failing or a chemical imbalance. We think, I'm broken. But the deep dive we're doing today, and this is based on a really fascinating video analysis, it's just titled Text. It takes that whole judgment and completely flips it on its head.
Okay.
The source argues that this moment, this flatness, this urge to just check out, it isn't a sign that you're broken at all. It's a sign that you are in withdrawal.
Withdrawal? You know, when you sent me this source, that's the word that stopped me cold.
Yeah, it's a strong word.
Because I don't do drugs. I mean, I drink coffee, sure, maybe a glass of wine here and there, but I don't think of myself as an addict who's like getting the shakes at a dinner party. That just feels like a huge stretch.
It feels dramatic, doesn't it? But that's the absolute core of the theory we have to unpack today. The source is making the case that we are, as a society, collectively suffering from a physiological withdrawal.
From what?
From the sheer overwhelming velocity of modern life. We're overstimulated, we're over-optimized, we're overloaded with information. And that feeling, that's not depression. He says that is your brain desperately trying to find a baseline again.
So, okay, this isn't just another talk about phone addiction or, tips for a digital detox.
Not at all. This goes way deeper. We're going to explore why modern life can feel so gray, and the really radical step the source suggests we have to take to get the color back.
And we're going to get into the mechanics of it, right? Like why this idea of optimizing your life might actually be the thing that's ruining it.
Yes, and why boredom, the thing we all run from, is terrifyingly necessary. And then ultimately how this all leads to a fork in the road for humanity. He presents two very different futures. One where we become robots, and one where we wake up.
It gets surprisingly sci-fi at the end, I have to say. But let's start at the beginning with the diagnosis. Because, look, we're all too busy. That feels like a cliche.
It does.
Everyone is busy. My grandmother was busy raising 5 kids without a dishwasher. Why is this different? Why is our busyness causing this very specific kind of numbness?
That is the perfect question. And the source makes a really crucial distinction. It's not just about busyness in the sense of having a long to-do list. It's about a shift in mindset. It's about optimization.
Okay.
We've moved from a society of, say, production, making things, building things, to a society of self-optimization.
Okay, you got to break down the difference for me. What does that actually mean?
So in a production mindset, your work has a clear endpoint. You build the chair, you write the report, you harvest the crops. And when the task is done, you rest.
Right, there's a finish line.
There's a finish line. In an optimization mindset, the project is you. The self is the project. And that project is never, ever finished.
I think I know where this is going.
Think about how you slept last night.
I mean, I slept okay. My Oura ring told me I got a 78 readiness score, which is decent, but not great, you know. My deep sleep was a little low.
There it is.
Mm-hmm.
You see, you didn't just sleep. You performed the act of sleeping.
Size.
You measured it, you quantified it. You probably have data going back months on your REM cycles, your heart rate variability, your body temperature. You are treating rest, the very definition of downtime, as another metric to be maximized.
That's painfully accurate. I literally gamified unconsciousness. I woke up and the very first thing I did was check a score on my phone to see how well I did at resting.
Exactly. And the source calls this the optimization trap. It's this insidious belief that every second of your life has to be productive, has to be efficient.
Even when it's supposed to be fun.
Especially then.
Mm-hmm.
A walk isn't just a walk, it's zone 2 cardio. Reading a novel isn't just for pleasure, it's downloading information or improving my vocabulary.
Oh, I am so guilty of the reading thing. So guilty. I listen to audiobooks at 1.5 speed, sometimes 2x speed if I'm feeling ambitious, because I feel like I'm wasting time if I listen at normal speed, which is completely insane, right?
Yeah.
The author or the narrator performed it at that speed for a reason, for pacing, for drama.
Of course.
But I feel this internal pressure to just get through it, to get to the end so I can add it to my list and say, I know the book.
But that is the trap. The source argues that when you view all your time as a resource to be squeezed for maximum efficiency, you fundamentally cannot inhabit the present moment.
You can't be in it.
You're never in it. You're always mentally leaning forward into the result of the moment. You're thinking about the metric, the takeaway, the thing you can post about. And because you are never truly in the moment itself feels empty. It feels flat.
So the numbness I feel isn't because the world is actually boring. It's because I'm just skimming the surface of the world trying to get to the next level faster.
You are speed running your own life. And your brain, your body, it knows it. And this leads to a condition the source describes as high-functioning exhaustion.
High-functioning exhaustion.
Yeah. You aren't tired because you've been digging ditches all day. You're tired because your brain is in a constant state of executive function, of project management. You are the CEO of You Incorporated. Terrible boss who never, ever lets the employee take a real break.
That hits hard. You are the CEO of your own body. Because even when I have free time, scheduled free time, I feel this immense pressure to use it well.
To optimize your leisure.
Yes. If I just sit on the couch and stare at the wall for 5 minutes, I feel this wave of guilt. Like I should be learning a language on Duolingo or working on a side hustle or meal prepping or something.
And that guilt is the engine that drives you right back to the phone. Because picking up the phone feels like activity. It feels like input. It feels like you're being productive. You're connecting.
But it's not.
It's just a pacifier for the anxiety of doing nothing. It's a shield against the silence.
And this brings us right back to that guy checking his phone at the party. It's a defense mechanism against the present moment.
It is. The speaker in the source connects this explicitly to that feeling of emptiness. If you are constantly running on this treadmill of optimization, you are never actually here. You're always living for some imaginary future moment where you'll finally be optimized enough.
But that moment never comes.
It never comes.
Yeah.
So you detach, you disengage, you check out.
Okay, so that's the diagnosis, the optimization trap. It makes a scary amount of sense. But here is where the deep dive takes a turn that I really struggled with at first. Because normally when we feel this detachment, this numbness, we treat it like a medical problem. We think, I'm depressed or I'm burned out. We pathologize it.
Right. The numbness is the enemy. It's something to be fixed, to be medicated, to be therapized away.
But the source says, stop this flatness. It's not depression, it's withdrawal.
Yes.
Can you really break down that distinction? Because I think for a lot of people listening, those two things feel exactly the same. And I just want to be really careful here. We are not dismissing clinical depression, are we?
Absolutely not. That needs to be crystal clear. Clinical depression is a very real, very serious medical condition that requires professional help.
Okay.
What the source is suggesting is that a huge chunk of what we diagnose as, or what we personally feel as burnout or low-grade depression, is actually something else. It's dopaminergic withdrawal.
Okay, dopaminergic. Break that down for me. Get rid of the jargon. What is happening inside my brain?
Okay, imagine your brain has a thermostat for stimulation.
Yeah.
A normal, healthy setting might be, say, 70 degrees.
Comfortable room temperature.
Exactly. But for the last 10, maybe 15 years, especially since the mass adoption of the smartphone and high-speed internet everywhere, we have collectively cranked that thermostat up to 100 degrees.
So constant heat.
Constant heat, constant notifications, constant breaking news, constant bright lights from screens, constant social validation pings, constant outrage. Your brain has adapted to living in that furnace. It thinks 100 degrees is normal.
So it's habituated itself to chaos.
Perfectly put. It has been trained to expect a dopamine hit every 30 seconds. A like, a text, a shocking headline, a funny video, that's its baseline now.
So when I sit in a quiet room or I'm at that party and things are just normal,
When it's 70 degrees,
you feel like you're freezing to death.
that's the flatness.
That is the flatness. It is the delta. It's the gap between the hyperstimulation your brain now considers normal and the actual unoptimized reality of the present moment.
The source uses the drug addict analogy, and it really is brutally apt. When a heroin addict quits, they don't feel normal on day one. They feel incredible pain. They feel a void. They feel sick. Their body is screaming for the substance it has come to depend on.
So when I'm at that party we talked about and I feel disconnected and flat, it's not because I don't love my friends.
Yeah.
It's because the rhythm of a normal human conversation isn't hitting my brain with the same frequency of dopamine spikes as a TikTok feed.
It sounds brutal when you say it out loud, but
Yeah.
yes, that's the argument. Real life moves at 1x speed.
Right.
It has pauses. It has awkward silences. It requires patience and focus. Your brain, which has been trained on the algorithm, perceives that slower natural pace as a lack of signal. It's like it's scanning the room and just screaming, nothing is happening here. This is boring, danger, even though what's actually happening is life.
That is terrifying. I mean, it's genuinely terrifying because it implies we have, on a neurological level, broken our ability to perceive reality as it is. We need the super stimulus of the screen just to feel anything at all.
We haven't permanently broken it, but we have
Yeah.
severely desensitized it.
Yeah.
And this is the real red pill moment from the source. This is the big reframe.
Okay.
That pain, that boredom, that agonizing itch, check the phone. That, he says, is the healing sensation.
So that is the withdrawal, that bad feeling.
Yes. That is your brain trying to downregulate. It's trying to turn the thermostat back down from 100 to 70. But if you give in, if you pull out the phone, you just reset the clock. You feed the addiction. You crank the heat right back up to 100 degrees.
And the healing process stops.
It stops. But if you can just sit there in the agony of the boredom, in the profound flatness, that is your brain slowly, painfully recalibrating itself to reality.
But nobody does that. Nobody wants to do that. If I feel bad, my instinct is to fix it immediately. I'll drink another coffee. I'll go for a run. I'll put on loud music. I'll call someone. Anything but sit in the bad feeling.
And the source's most radical piece of advice is stop fighting. The meh feeling is the cure, if you can just survive sitting in it long enough.
So embrace the void.
Embrace the void. The speaker in the source, he talks about his own personal journey with this.
Yeah.
For a long time, he tried to force it. He tried to bully himself into being productive, into feeling happy. He'd make schedules and set goals to fix his mood.
The optimization approach to sadness.
Exactly. And eventually he just stopped. He gave up. He just allowed the flatness to exist. He didn't try to fix it or analyze it. He just let it be.
That sounds incredibly difficult. I mean, just to sit in that gray, empty feeling and say, okay, I guess this is home for a while. It goes against every single thing our culture teaches us.
It does.
We're taught to be proactive. Don't just sit there, do something, is like the unofficial motto of Western civilization.
Right. In our culture, giving up is a cardinal sin. But in this specific context, giving up the fight against the flatness was the only way he could win. By accepting the withdrawal symptoms, he finally stopped feeding the addiction to stimulation. He stopped trying to optimize his way out of burnout.
Okay, so we have the diagnosis, which is the optimization trap. And we have the reframe, which is seeing the flatness as withdrawal, not depression.
Right.
Now we get to the pivot. And this is where things get really, really uncomfortable. Because the cure for this withdrawal isn't a pill, and it isn't a 2-week vacation. It's the one thing I think I have spent my entire adult life actively trying to avoid.
Boredom.
The dreaded B word.
The lost art of boredom. It's funny, we treat boredom like it's a disease, don't we?
Oh, absolutely. Like, it's an emergency. If I feel even 3 seconds of boredom waiting for an elevator, the phone is in my hand before I even realize I've done it.
We all do it.
I cannot stand in a line at the grocery store without checking my email. I will literally read the ingredients on a pack of gum if I have to.
Right.
Anything to avoid just standing there with my own thoughts.
But the source makes such a critical point here. By systematically eliminating every last scrap of boredom from our lives, we've also eliminated our ability to hear ourselves think. The speaker argues that embracing this lack of stimulation, this profound, uncomfortable boredom, is the only way to rediscover what he calls your inner voice.
Let's unpack that phrase, inner voice. Why does boredom trigger it? Why can't I hear my inner voice while I'm watching a YouTube video or listening to a deep dive like this one?
Think of it in terms of input versus output. When you are consuming content, reading, watching, scrolling, listening, your brain is in input mode. It's busy processing external signals. It's taking things in.
Okay, makes sense.
It cannot simultaneously be in output mode. Output is things like intuition, reflection, deep thought, creativity. Your brain can't do both at the same time at a high level.
It's a bandwidth issue.
It is absolutely a bandwidth issue, and the source describes it as a battle between two competing voices.
Okay.
The societal voice and the inner voice.
The societal voice, that's the loud one.
That's the very, very loud one. It's the media, it's your boss's expectations, it's the highlight reels of your friends on Instagram, it's the algorithm telling you what to be outraged about today. It is constantly screaming at you about what you should do, who you should be, what you should want, what you should buy.
It's the noise, the 100-degree heat we were talking about earlier.
Precisely. And your inner voice, that deep sense of intuition of what's true for you, it's a whisper. It has no chance. It cannot possibly compete with the megaphone of society.
So the only way to hear the whisper is to turn off the megaphone.
Yes. And when you turn off the megaphone, what's left in that initial moment?
Silence. Nothing.
Boredom. The boredom is the vacuum where the societal voice used to be.
That's a great way to put it. And that vacuum is necessary.
It's necessary, but it's also deeply uncomfortable. We think we avoid boredom because it's dull, but the source suggests we avoid boredom because it's scary.
How is it scary? What's scary about being bored?
Because when the noise stops, the truth comes out. The speaker, he talks about this epiphany he had during this period of just allowing himself to be bored. And it wasn't some happy eureka moment, not at first. It was a deeply painful realization.
What was the realization?
He realized that his current life just didn't fit him. The numbness wasn't just some random chemical imbalance. It was a specific signal, a warning light on the dashboard of his soul, telling him that his daily existence, his job, his career trajectory, the standard path he was on, was fundamentally misaligned with who he actually was.
See, that is scary. That is exactly why we avoid boredom. Because if I sit quietly for too long, I might realize I hate my job. Or that I'm in the wrong relationship.
Or that you're living in the wrong city. Or that you've spent the last 10 years climbing a ladder that's leaning against the wrong wall.
Yeah.
The numbness is a protective layer. It's an anesthetic. It keeps us from feeling the sharp pain of that misalignment. But once you strip away the constant stimulation and you sit in the boredom, the anesthesia wears off and the truth comes rushing in.
It reminds me of that old quote from Pascal. All of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone.
It is exactly that. We run from the room because the room holds a mirror. And for the speaker in our source, that mirror showed him that he had lost his autonomy and he needed to get it back.
And this transitions us perfectly into the solution section of the source material. Because he didn't just sit around being bored and miserable forever. He used that painful clarity to start building a new path for himself.
Right.
And specifically, he talks about making a conscious shift away from traditional employment.
This is where the deep dive gets very practical, but also, for some people, a little controversial.
Yeah.
He didn't just have a philosophical moment. He took very specific action. He details a methodical shift away from being an employee, someone who trades their time for money, and toward becoming a creator.
He started building things.
Yes. Side businesses, online courses, writing books, things that were his.
Now, I want to stop you right there, because I think for a lot of us, when we hear phrases like passive income or side hustle or become a creator, our guard immediately goes up.
For good reason.
It sounds like some get-rich-quick ad you see on YouTube. You know, buy my course and I'll teach you how to live on a beach. It can feel very grifty.
You're absolutely right to be skeptical. The internet is flooded with that kind of garbage. But the source frames this in a completely different way. For him, it's not about buying a Lamborghini. It's about a single powerful concept.
Alienation.
Alienation, like Karl Marx alienation.
It's a little bit, yeah. Think about it. When you work a traditional job, especially in a large corporation, you are often completely alienated from the product of your labor.
You're a cog in the machine.
You're a cog. You spend all day optimizing a spreadsheet that goes to a manager who puts one chart from it into a report that goes to a client you will never meet for a project whose ultimate purpose you don't fully understand.
You don't own the result. You don't own anything. You are just renting out your time and your life force to help someone else build their dream.
And that feeling of being a cog, of being powerless, that contributes directly to the flatness.
Of course it does. You're just going through the motions.
Yeah.
You lack agency. And so the source argues that the antidote to the meh isn't just rest or vacation, it's creation.
Why is creation the specific antidote? What does it do?
Because creation is the ultimate act of autonomy. When you write a book or plant a garden or code an app or even just bake a loaf of bread from scratch, that thing is yours. You made it exist. You imposed your will and your vision on the world. You moved from being a passive consumer to an active creator.
It's about ownership. It's about seeing a direct result of your effort.
It's about agency. The source explicitly notes that as he lessened his dependency on his traditional job and started building his own assets, his own things, the feeling of numbness began to lift. Not because he was suddenly rich, but because he was becoming free.
So when he talks about passive income, he's really talking about buying his time back, buying his freedom.
That's it exactly. He views money not as a tool to buy more stuff, but as a tool to buy distance from the optimization trap. If you have enough passive income coming in to cover your basic living expenses, you don't have to answer that email at 9 p.m. on a Friday.
You don't have to say yes to every project.
You can afford to be bored. You can afford to take a Tuesday off to just think. You can afford to listen to that inner voice.
So the solution isn't to find a better way to optimize your life. It's to build a life where you don't have to optimize every second just to survive, to reclaim your attention and your labor.
Correct. It's about shifting your entire identity from being a consumer of narratives to a creator of your own reality. And this is not a small thing. The source takes this very personal shift and elevates it to a massive societal level. This isn't just about one guy quitting his job. He argues it's about the future of the human race.
Yeah, this is the part of the source where it goes full sci-fi, but like scarily realistic, near-future sci-fi. Section 5, the macro view. He outlines two completely divergent futures for humanity. And I have to admit, this part really gave me chills.
The fork in the road. He suggests that as a species, we are at a critical juncture right now. And on one side of that fork, we have what he calls the robotic path.
Which sounds exactly like the world we described in the beginning. Everyone numb, glued to their screens, just kind of shuffling through life.
Yes, but amplified by 1,000. In the robotic path, society becomes fully controlled by sophisticated AI and manipulative narratives. Think about it. If you are constantly consuming, you're constantly being programmed.
Right.
The algorithms already know what you want to buy before you do. They know who you're attracted to. They know exactly what kind of news headline will make you angry and what kind will make you feel validated.
We become predictable inputs in a giant system.
Exactly. If we stay in this flat, passive, optimizing state, we lose our agency entirely. We become the perfect consumers. We become optimized death. We'll be safe, perhaps. We'll be entertained, certainly. But we won't be truly alive. We'll be sleepwalking. We'll be biological robots executing code written by advertisers and political strategists.
That is the ultimate dystopian outcome. It's the Wall-E future, effectively. Just fat, happy, and completely mindless.
And then there's the second path, the other side of the fork. He calls it the awakening.
That sounds a lot more promising, but also a bit vague. What does the awakening actually look like? Is it a revolution? People in the streets with pitchforks?
He argues it's much quieter than that. It's not an external revolution. It's an internal one. It is a mass return to critical thinking and intuition.
How does that happen?
It happens when people, one by one, decide to disengage from manipulative narratives.
So it's a refusal.
It's a conscious refusal to be a robot. It's a moment you stop scrolling, you stop accepting the default societal voice, and you start actively listening to that inner whisper we talked about. It's when you choose to do something illogical according to the optimization algorithm.
Give me an example of an illogical act of awakening. What does that look like in practice?
Okay. Sitting on a park bench for a full hour and doing nothing. No phone, no book, no podcast, just sitting. That is profoundly illogical to the modern economy. You aren't producing, you aren't consuming, you aren't generating data, you are just being. That is a tiny act of rebellion.
Or creating something just for the love of it.
Exactly. Creating art that you have no intention of selling. Or spending 3 hours cooking an elaborate meal for someone you love without posting a single picture of it on Instagram. These are human acts, not robotic ones.
So the personal journey of overcoming the numbness, that whole withdrawal process we talked about, that's actually the prerequisite for this larger societal awakening.
That is the core synthesis of the entire argument.
Yeah.
You cannot build a conscious, awakened society out of numb, distracted, alienated individuals. The revolution, so to speak, has to start with each person reclaiming their own attention.
It all comes back to attention.
It all comes back to attention. And the speaker, he has this deep belief in the resilience of the human spirit. He believes that eventually enough of us will reject the robotic existence simply because it is so fundamentally anti-human.
It's interesting that he pins all the hope on the human spirit, not on a new technology or a political movement, but on this innate desire we all have to be free and authentic.
And that the numbness we're feeling is the proof of that spirit. The numbness is the friction. It's the pain generated by the clash between our human spirit and the robotic lives we're being pushed into. The awakening is simply removing that friction. It's trusting that if we disconnect from the matrix, we won't just die of boredom, we'll actually wake up.
So if we zoom out, this deep dive has taken us all the way from feeling a little bored at a party to literally fighting for the soul of humanity, which is quite a leap. But it all feels strangely connected.
It connects because the primary mechanism of control in the 21st century is attention. If an outside force can control your attention, it can control your reality. But if you can reclaim your own attention, you reclaim your own reality.
The source wraps all of this up with a very specific call to reflection, a thought experiment for the viewer, or in our case, for you, the listener. And I want us to actually try to do this right now.
To the powerful closing exercise, the speaker asks you this question. If you controlled your attention and your resources completely, if you weren't exhausted, if you weren't dependent on a job you secretly hated, if you weren't addicted to the screen, what would your life actually look like?
It's such a hard question to answer because, honestly, when I try to seriously answer it, my mind just draws a blank. I think, maybe I'd sleep more. But beyond that, it's like I've forgotten what I actually like to do.
And the blankness is the damage. That's the scar tissue from the optimization trap. We have been told what to want, what to desire, what to pursue for so long, we've lost the muscle memory of wanting things for ourselves.
Which is why that withdrawal phase, the boredom, is so critical. You can't answer that question while you're still high on the stimulation of the societal voice.
You can't. You have to get clean first. You have to get bored first.
But the speaker pushes us to really try, to ask, what would you create? What skills would you learn? If money wasn't the goal, if likes and status weren't the goal, what would you do just for the sheer fact that it felt true and meaningful to you?
And he's very clear in defining true freedom. It's not sitting on a beach doing nothing, right?
Right.
Freedom isn't just leisure. Leisure can be just as robotic as work if you're just doom scrolling on a beach in Mexico. Freedom, in this context, is alignment.
Alignment.
It is the ability to wake up in the morning and have your actions be in accordance with your own genuine values and ideas, rather than constantly reacting to external demands and notifications. That is what he means by reclaiming autonomy.
Okay, so let's bring this all home. We have covered a massive amount of ground today.
We really have. We started with the symptom, that pervasive feeling, that emotional dullness that seems to haunt modern life.
Then we diagnosed it, not as a personal malfunction, but as the inevitable result of the optimization trap, the exhaustion that comes from trying to make every second count, from quantifying our own existence until we feel like just another data point.
Then we reframed that feeling.
Yeah.
We saw it not as a problem to be fixed, but as withdrawal, a necessary, albeit painful, detox from the dopamine-saturated noise of our society.
We looked at the pivot, the terrifying but essential need to embrace boredom in order to finally hear our own inner voice, and the scary realization that our current path might be the source of the problem.
We discussed the solution he proposed, moving from alienation to autonomy, shifting our mindset from being an employee to a creator, building assets not to get rich, but to buy back our own freedom and attention.
And finally, we looked at the ultimate stakes, the choice between a robotic future where we're passively fed narratives, or an awakening where we reclaim our humanity by doing the one thing the algorithm can't predict, being our authentic selves.
It's a really comprehensive and provocative argument. And it takes a fundamentally negative feeling, numbness, and transforms it into a powerful call to action.
That's what I love most about this source. It takes something that feels like a weakness, like I can't handle modern life, and reframes it as a strength, as my body is rightly rejecting a toxic environment.
Exactly. The flatness isn't a defect, it's an immune response. It's your soul putting on the emergency brake, trying to save you from driving off a cliff.
So, for everyone listening, here's the final takeaway. If you're feeling that flatness, if things that used to excite you now just feel hollow, maybe don't ignore that. Pay attention to it. It might be the most important signal your body has ever sent you.
It's a request. A request to disconnect from the noise and to reconnect with yourself.
Don't fight it. Don't try to medicate it with more scrolling or more busyness. Just let it be there. Sit with it. Listen to what it's trying to tell you, even if what it tells you is scary.
Especially if it's scary.
And I want to leave you with one final provocative thought to mull over, something that builds on everything we've just discussed. If this theory is right, if the flatness really is a form of withdrawal from a societal addiction, then those moments where you feel the most bored might actually be the only moments where you are truly, authentically free.
Which really raises the final question, doesn't it?
Ah.
Are you rushing to fill the silence because you're just so busy and important? Or are you rushing to fill the silence because you're terrified of what that silence might finally tell you to do?
That is the question. Thanks for diving deep with us.
Until next
You're
time.
not broken, you just went still. After years of chasing someone else's will, the noise fell away, it felt like a loss. But it was only the way you'd been taught to carry cross. Screens went dark, the shine wore thin. Dreams they sold you don't pull you in. What you were told would make you whole doesn't answer when you call it home. The silence feels heavy, but it's true. It's not empty, it's making room. You are quiet for the first time in a long while. No alarms, no borrowed smiles, just your breath in the open aisle. You are quiet for the first time in a long while. Boredom knocks and you almost run, but you stay and something comes undone. The life you built to survive the race doesn't fit the shape of your face. You don't need fixing, you don't need more. Just a moment not reaching for the door. No optimization, no disguise, just truth learning how to rise. The world keeps calling your name, but you don't answer the same. You are quiet for the first time in a long while. No rush, no ticking miles, just the sound of your own pulse alive. You are quiet for the first time in a long while. Boredom is a doorway, silence is a sign. This pause between the old you and the one you haven't met yet in time. Stop reacting, start to choose. This life belongs to you. You are quiet for the first time in a long while. And in that space you finally find what was buried under time. You are quiet for the first time in a long while. The world wants your attention, your soul wants you, and in the quiet you remember